The steam rose like ghosts from the cracked tile floor of my tiny Brooklyn walk-up, thick and unforgiving, as I gripped Ben's shoulders under the sputtering showerhead. His body went rigid against mine, slick with soap and the kind of exhaustion that comes from running too long from your own shadow. Then his lips crashed into me, desperate, tasting of salt and regret, and the world I'd built around us shattered in a single, breathless heartbeat. "Jacob," he whispered, voice breaking like thunder over the East River. "I've been lying to you. To everyone. But not anymore." I froze, water pounding our skin like accusations, my hands still tangled in his wet hair. Benjamin Hayes, the golden boy from our Yale days, the one who dragged me through keg stands and all-nighters with that crooked grin, had just kissed me like I was the only anchor in his storm. And God help me, kissed him back, because denying it felt like denying the air in my lungs. We'd been roommates for 3 years now, scraping by in this shoebox apartment on Atlantic Avenue, chasing freelance gigs in a city that chewed up dreamers like us. He was straight, or so I told myself 1,000 times, burying my crush under layers of bro-code bullshit. Late nights coding apps for indie startups while he sketched graphic novels that no one bought. Shared takeout from that halal cart on the corner, laughing about exes we'd never had the guts to keep. But this was the fracture line I'd always known was there, spiderwebbing under the surface. It started that rainy Tuesday in October, the kind of downpour that turns Manhattan into a watercolor smear. Ben had come home late from a networking event, his word for bars where aspiring artists nursed cheap IPAs and swapped business cards like trading Pokemon. I was at the kitchen table, laptop glowing with half-finished lines of Python, when the door banged open. He stumbled in, coat soaked, face pale as the underbelly of a cloud. "Jake," he slurred, dropping his sketchbook in a puddle. I fucked up. Big time. I'd seen him drunk before, hell, we'd gotten blackout together freshman year after that brutal econ final. But this was different. His eyes were wild, pupils blown wide, and there was a tremor in his hands like he'd mainlined regret. "What happened?" I asked, pulling him toward the couch. He collapsed, head in his hands, and the story spilled out in fits. Some gallery opening in Chelsea, too many whiskeys, a flirtation with a curator named Lila that escalated into a corner booth grope. But then the kicker, he bolted, left her there mid-kiss, because it felt wrong. Man. All of it, wrong. That word hung between us like smoke. I knew why. Ben's family back in Ohio was the picture of Midwest normalcy. Dad a high school football coach, Mom baking pies for church potlucks, a little sister who idolized him. Coming out, not an option in their world. He'd confided in me once, sophomore year, after a hookup gone sour with a sorority girl. "I think I'm broken, Jake," he'd said, staring at the Hudson from our dorm window. Like, chemically. Why else would I feel? Nothing. I'd swallowed my own truth then, clapped him on the back, and said, "Nah, you're just picky. The right one's out there, liar." I'd loved him since the day he picked me. Awkward, gangly Jacob Ruiz from Queens, son of Mexican immigrants who worked double shifts at the bodega for his fantasy football team. "You're my secret weapon," he joked. Secret. Yeah. That night, as the rain hammered the fire escape, he wouldn't stop shaking. Fever, maybe, or the whiskey crash. "Help me clean up," he mumbled, shedding his shirt like it burned. His skin was clammy, goosebumps rising under the hallway light. I should have said no, handed him a towel and crashed on the futon. But Ben was my constant, the one who'd held my hand through my abuela's funeral last spring, whispering prayers in Spanish he mangled just to make me smile. So I nodded, steered him to the bathroom, turned the knob until steam billowed like a veil. Under the spray, I soaped his back, muscles tense as bowstrings, tracing scars from childhood falls off his family's old swing set. He leaned into me, heavy and trusting, murmuring thanks that dissolved into sighs. And then the turn. His hand caught my wrist, pulled me closer, water sluicing between us. Our eyes locked, his hazel flecked with gold like autumn leaves in Central Park. "Jake," he breathed, and before I could process, his mouth was on mine. Not tentative, not experimental, a claim, raw and unraveling. My brain short-circuited. This was Ben, straight as an arrow Ben, unraveling in my arms. I tasted the bourbon on his tongue, the fear in his grip, and something deeper, something that mirrored the ache I'd carried for years. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed together, the shower's roar drowning out the city below. "What the hell was that?" I managed, voice hoarse. He laughed, a broken sound, sliding down the wall until he sat on the tile, knees to chest. The truth. Finally, tears mixed with the water on his cheeks. Lila. She was perfect on paper. Ambitious, artsy, everything my folks would love. But when she kissed me, it was like kissing a painting, flat, lifeless. And all I could think was you. How you've been right here, seeing me, really seeing me, when no one else does. My heart jackhammered, a freight train through my ribs. This was the hook I'd dreamed of, the fairy tale twist in a rom-com we'd binge on Netflix. But reality bit harder. "Ben, you're drunk. And scared. This us, it's a minefield." He looked up, eyes fierce. "I'm sober enough to know I've wasted years pretending. For them. For me. But not for you, Jake. Never for you." We dried off in silence, the bathroom fogged like a confessional. I tucked him into bed, our beds, pushed against opposite walls in the living room that doubled as our universe, and lay awake, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars we'd stuck up as a joke. What now? Call it a fluke? Laugh it off over coffee tomorrow? Or dive in, risk the fallout? By dawn, with the sun slicing through the blinds like judgment, Ben was curled against me, arms slung over my waist as if it belonged there. And damn if it didn't feel like home. The next week blurred into a fever dream of stolen moments. Mornings started with his lips brushing my neck, lazy kisses over burnt toast and black coffee. Afternoons, we'd work side by side, my code compiling while his pencils flew across pages, our feet tangled under the table. Evenings were ours, walks along the promenade, hands brushing until they linked, the Manhattan skyline winking like it approved. Ben opened up in layers, stories of high school crushes on the quarterback, buried under layers of denial, the therapy sessions he'd skipped because real men don't need fixing. I shared my own ghosts, the rejection from my first boyfriend in college, the way my parents' Catholic guilt still whispered in my ear. We were building something fragile, beautiful, stitched from the scraps of our old friendship. But New York doesn't let you hide. Lila texted him relentlessly. What happened? We had something. He blocked her, but the ripples spread. At a freelance meetup in Williamsburg, a mutual friend cornered me, Heard Ben's going through shit. You two okay? I nodded, throat tight, but the seed of doubt sprouted. What if this was a phase for him? A rebellion against his Ohio roots? I pushed it down, focused on the way he looked at me, like I was the plot twist he'd been waiting for. Then came the call from his sister, Ellie. Ben's phone buzzed during one of our movie nights, some indie flick about lost love in the village, and he answered, voice shifting to that polished tone he reserved for family. Yeah, Mom's good? Tell her hi. I busied myself with popcorn, but snippets leaked. Thanksgiving plans, Dad's new knee surgery, and then, casual as a weather report, bringing someone home? Maybe. It's early. The line went quiet, his face draining of color. When he hung up, the air crackled. They want to meet the girl. Assume it's serious. I forced a laugh. Tell em it's me. Jacob the Wonder Boy, but his eyes darkened. Jake. They wouldn't get it. Not yet. The not yet landed like a gut punch. We argued, quiet at first, then sharp. You've known me 5 years, I said, pacing the kitchen. Seen me cry over worse. But them? They're the jury. He deflated, rubbing his temples. It's not that. It's everything. The farm, the church, the looks from neighbors. I lose them. I lose half of who I am. That night, we made love for the first time, not fumbling in the shower, but deliberate, in the dim light of our shared bed. His hands mapped me like a new city, reverent, whispering my name like a prayer. It was tender, electric, the kind of intimacy that rewires your soul. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of us, he murmured, I'll figure it out. For us, I believed him. Fools always do. Winter crept in like an uninvited guest, frosting the windows of our apartment and turning the streets into slushy battlegrounds. Ben threw himself into his art, churning out panels for a graphic novel about a closeted superhero, thinly veiled autobiography. If you squinted. I landed a contract gig debugging an app for a queer dating startup. Ironic hours spent fixing matches while stealing glances at him across the room. We were good, really good, the kind of sync where you'd finish each other's sentences and sandwiches. But under it all, the tension simmered, a low boil waiting for the lid to rattle off. Thanksgiving loomed like a guillotine. Ben's flight to Columbus was booked, a red-eye that left me rattling around the empty apartment like a ghost. Come with, he begged one night, fingers tracing patterns on my chest. Meet them as my best friend. Neutral ground. I wanted to, God. The thought of turkey and small talk with the Hayes clan sounded like normalcy wrapped in gravy. But the risk? What if they see through it? The way you look at me. He kissed my temple. Then we deal. Together. In the end, I stayed. Work was my excuse, but truth was fear of being the outsider, the friend who made their boy uncomfortable. He left with a hug that lingered too long at the gate, promising calls every hour. The first night, he FaceTimed from his childhood bedroom, posters of the Avengers peeling from the walls. Mom's pie is killer, but it's not you. We laughed, but his eyes were shadowed, like the farm's flat horizon pressed on him. By day 3, the calls thinned. Texts instead, family drama. Dad's on a rant about politics, then silence. Paced, scrolling his Insta, nothing but filtered leaves from the backyard. Paranoia set in. Was he regretting us? Hiding in the closet of his old life? On the flight back, I picked him up at JFK, the terminal a crush of holiday chaos. He emerged looking smaller, duffel slung low, and when he saw me, his face cracked relief, guilt, something sharper. The drive home was quiet, wipers slapping rain like judgment. "How was it?" I asked, merging onto the BQE. He stared out at the taillights. "Same old." Ellie grilled me about Lila. Turns out she friend Mom on Facebook. A beat. I told them it fizzled. Natural. My grip tightened on the wheel. "And us? Mention the guy who's been crashing on your couch for years." He winced. "Jake, don't." It wasn't the time. We exploded in the parking lot, voices echoing off concrete pillars. "When is the time, Ben? After the wedding invites? Or when you're back in Ohio, married to some nice girl who doesn't make you question everything?" He grabbed my arm, eyes flashing. "You think this is easy? They're my blood. You get that, your family's no picnic either." Touché. My parents, devout in Jackson Heights, had disowned my cousin for living in sin, but I'd come out to them anyway, piecemeal, over tamales and tears. "I chose you," I shot back. "Over the guilt." "Can you?" He deflated, slumping against the car. "I want to. Christ, I do. But it's like pulling teeth without Novocaine." We drove the rest of the way in silence, the radio humming indie folk about lost loves. That night, he reached for me in the dark, but I turned away, the space between us a chasm wider than the Hudson. The fracture widened over the next weeks. Ben dove deeper into his novel, pages filled with caped figures torn between worlds, mirrors of his soul. I catch him staring at his phone, thumb hovering over his dad's contact. Lila resurfaced too, an email apology that he showed me, her words polished. "If friendship's all we can salvage, I'm here." He deleted it, but the seed took root. I threw myself into work, late nights at a co-working space in Dumbo, surrounded by tech bros who eyed my rainbow pin with polite indifference. Christmas Eve, we tried to reclaim normalcy. String lights draped over the fire escape, eggnog spiked with rum from the bodega. Ben sketched me as a sidekick in his comic, all brooding eyes and loyalty, and for a moment, felt like us again. We made love by candlelight, slow and searching, his whispers promising forever. But dawn brought the bill, a package from home, wrapped in reindeer paper. Inside, a photo album, Ben's life in snapshots, from toddler in overalls to prom king with a queen on his arm. Tucked in the back, a note from his mom, "Can't wait to meet her. Prayers for your happiness." He crumpled it, tears hot on my shoulder. "I can't do this to them. Or us." We really talked, for hours, curled on the couch with the city twinkling below. He confessed the pressure. Dad's legacy as the town's straight arrow coach. Ellie's wedding next summer where he'd be best man. "If I blow it up now, it's nuclear." I held him, heart aching. "Then we wait. But not forever, Ben. I'm not a secret you dust off on weekends." January hit like a reset button, cold snaps locking us indoors. We fell into a rhythm, dates disguised as hangs, a queer open mic in the East Village where he read a story about two boys stealing stars from the sky. The crowd cheered, and in that smoky room, hand in mine under the table, I saw our future, messy, real, unbreakable, but cracks spiderwebbed. A coworker outed us accidentally at a holiday party. Ben's boyfriend makes a mean posole, and whispers followed. Ben laughed it off, but his sketches grew darker. Heroes bloodied in alley fights. Then the bomb dropped. Ellie called mid-February, voice bubbly over speakerphone. Big news. Lila reached out, said you two had a spark. She's coming to the wedding. Thought you'd want to know. Ben's face went ashen. What? No. That's... But she steamrolled. Mom's thrilled. Finally settling down. Click. Silence roared. I stood frozen in the kitchen. Mug of tea forgotten. You told her? About us? His eyes darted. No, I swear. Lila must've. Spun it, but doubt gnawed. Had he? In a weak moment. Over turkey and tears? The betrayal stung. A knife twist I hadn't braced for. Or maybe you did. To buy time. Keep the peace. He recoiled like I'd slapped him. Jake, how can you? Because I've been here before, I snapped. Hiding. And it ends with you alone. Wondering what if. He stormed out into the sleet, sketchbook under arm, and didn't come back till midnight, soaked and silent. We slept apart, the apartment a battlefield of unspoken wounds. Morning brought fragile peace, apologies over diner pancakes, promises to call Lila, set the record straight. But the damage lingered, a bruise that darkened everything. Spring teased with crocuses in Prospect Park, but our bloom wilted. Ben's novel got a nibble from a small press, validation that pulled him away to meetings in Soho. I supported, cheering from the sidelines, but jealousy crept in, ugly and unbidden. Was this his escape? Art as armor? One night, after a launch party, he came home tipsy, reeking of gallery wine. They loved it, he slurred, collapsing beside me. The hero comes out. Blows it all up. Pride swelled. But then he added, soft. Wish I could. The words hung. You can, I said, pulling him close. But his phone buzzed. Lila. Again, heard about the book. Congrats. Drinks to celebrate. He silenced it, but the ghost lingered. That week, I found the draft email in his sent folder. Timestamped 2 a.m. Hey Lil. About us. It was real, but not like this. Unsent? No. Forwarded to Ellie with a note. Tell Mom it's off. For good. Relief flooded. Then rage. You handled it behind my back? He shrugged. Defensive. Didn't want to drag you in. Drag me in like I was the complication. The fight was our worst. Accusations flying. Old hurts exhumed. You're ashamed, I yelled. Of me. Of us. He shouted back. I'm terrified of losing you because I can't give you the white picket fence. We collapsed. Bent. And in the wreckage, he confessed the deepest cut. A one-night stand. Years ago. With a guy at Yale. It scared me straight. Thought if I ignored it, it'd go away. Until you. Truth like acid. I walked out, crashing at a friend's in Bushwick. The subway rattle mocking my sobs. Days blurred. Texts unanswered. My code riddled with errors. Ben showed up on the fourth night. Eyes red-rimmed. Holding a manila envelope. Read this. His novel. Bound. Dedicated. To Jacob. Who saw the hero before I did. We talked till dawn. Raw and reckoning. I choose you, he said. Voice steady. No more half measures. But trust. Once cracked. Doesn't glue seamless. We tried therapy, a queer counselor in the village, sessions unpacking closets and cultural chains. Progress, inch by inch. Ben called his parents, vague but honest, seeing someone special. Male, silence on the line, then his dad's gruff, as long as he's good to you. Summer sweltered in, fireflies in the parks, and we bloomed tentative. Picnics on the pier, his head on my lap, sketching waves. But the undercurrent pulled. Lila's wedding invite arrived, addressed to both, a polite +1 that screamed pity. Ben wanted to skip. I pushed, go. End it clean. He did, alone, returning with stories of toasts and tension, but freer, unburdened. Yet fate, that cruel curator, had other plans. In August, during a heat wave that turned our AC-less apartment into a sauna, Ben's phone lit up with an unknown number. Ellie, hysterical. Dad had a stroke. Come home. Now, the call that changed everything. The airport smelled of stale pretzels and desperation as Ben hugged me goodbye, his grip bruising. I'll call from the gate, he promised, voice thick. Columbus was a 6-hour flight, but it felt like crossing oceans. I nodded, throat tight, watching his back disappear into the scrum of travelers. Our goodbye kiss, quick, hidden behind a pillar, tasted like ash. Love you, he mouthed. I echoed it, but the words stuck. Alone again, the apartment echoed with ghosts. Paced, brewing coffee I didn't drink, scrolling news for Midwest weather like it mattered. His first text came mid-air, turbulence. Thinking of you, then radio silence. By evening, Ellie updated, Dad stable, in ICU at Riverside Methodist. Ben was there, holding vigil. I booked a flight for the next day, red-eye, for $100 I didn't have, but pride or practicality held me back. Let him handle family first, I told my reflection. Bullshit. It was fear of intruding, of being the boyfriend in a hospital room of starched whites and Bible verses. Ben called at 3 a.m., voice hollow over the line. He's asking for me. Keep saying he's sorry, for pushing too hard, for the expectations. A pause, ragged breath. Mom's a wreck. Praying nonstop. I murmured comforts, pictured the sterile beep of monitors, Ben's hand in his father's gnarled one. Come if you can, he whispered. Need you here, promised. But dawn found me still in bed, paralyzed. The stroke was ischemic. They said clot from the knee surgery. Irony's bitter pill. Dad rallied, then crashed. A roller coaster that drained Ben dry. Photos trickled in. Him gaunt in the waiting room. Ellie curled beside. Mom's rosary clicking like a metronome. I sent care packages, his favorite sketch pads. My abuela's chamomile tea, but words failed. Our texts shortened. Holding up. Barely. Love yous dwindled to Zoes. A week in. The turning point. Ben FaceTimed from the hospital cafeteria. Fluorescent lights carving hollows under his eyes. He woke up lucid. Asked about you. My stomach flipped. Me? A nod. Said Ellie mentioned the special someone. I told him. About us. The air stilled. His face shock. Then this sigh. Like he'd known. Bring him next time, he said. Weak. But real. Tears pricked. Breakthrough. Fragile as eggshell. I booked the ticket that night. Landed in Columbus at noon. the flat Ohio sky pressing down like a lid. Ben met me at baggage. Thinner, stubble shadowing his jaw, but his hug fierce, unapologetic, reknit something torn. You came, like I'd had a choice. The Hayes home was a split-level rancher on the edge of town. American flags flapping from porches. Lawns manicured to suburban perfection. Inside, it smelled of Vicks VapoRub and pot roast. Mom's doing, her hands flour-dusted even in crisis. She greeted me with a hug that smelled of lavender, eyes wary but kind. Jacob, Ben's told us. Bits. Ellie hovered, praising, then grinned. Heard you're the coder who saves his ass daily. Laughter broke the ice. Tentative. Hospital visits were a gauntlet. Dad Coach Hayes, broad as a linebacker even bedridden, eyed me from his pillow, monitors beeping like accusations. So, you're the one keeping my boy up at night with city nonsense. Gruff, but a twinkle lurked. Ben squeezed my hand under the rail. He's the best part. Dad. We talked football, Yale losses, Buckeye glory, sidestepping the elephant until, on the third day, Dad rasped, "Life's too short for closets, son." Saw it in teammates, buddies who drank themselves dead. Love who you love. Just make it count. Ben wept then, shoulders shaking, and I held him as the room spun. Recovery was slow, a limbo of PT sessions and family dinners where Mom quizzed me on recipes. Your mother's tamales sound divine, and Ellie plotted double dates that never happened. Ben and I stole moments in the guest room, whispers in the dark, his body familiar yet changed, etched with worry lines. "This is us now," he said one night, tracing my collarbone. Out. Messy, but out. I believed it, in the quiet hours before dawn. But betrayal brews in the best of families. 2 weeks in, as Dad graduated to a rehab facility, Lila arrived. Unannounced, rolling up in her Prius with casseroles and concern. Heard about Coach. Thought I'd help. Ben's face soured, but politeness pinned him. She stayed for dinner, charm offensive, stories of gallery shows that had Mom cooing. Ellie pulled me aside. She's harmless. Just history. Harmless. She cornered Ben in the kitchen. Voices low but sharp. You ghosted me for him? After everything. I overheard from the hall. Heart pounding. His reply, "It wasn't about you. It was me, figuring out who I am." She laughed, bitter. And he's the answer? Some city boy with immigrant baggage? The word hit like shrapnel, my baggage, weaponized. I burst in. Enough. Leave. She did, tires squealing, but the poison lingered. That night, Ben and I fought, not yelling, but dissecting, her words a scalpel on old scars. She doesn't know you, he insisted. But, does it bother you? The family thing? I hesitated. Truth. Yes. The stares at church. The whispers. It's their loss if they can't see you. See us. He nodded, but doubt flickered. Back in Brooklyn, autumn leaves carpeting the sidewalks. We tried rebuilding. Ben's novel sold, small advance, but enough for a deposit on a one-bedroom in Bed-Stuy. Ours, he said. He's jingling. We celebrated with rooftop beers, city lights sprawling like promises. But Lila's barb festered. She emailed Ben, CCING me, bold move, congrats on the book. Hope he's worth the family fallout. Attached, Screenshots of his parents' Facebook. Mom's post about pride in our son. No matter what. Pride? Or pity? Ben spiraled. Calls home turning terse. Dad's rehab hit a snag infection. Readmission and guilt chained him. I should have stayed straight, he muttered one night, bottle in hand. Kept the peace. I snatched it away. Don't. That's the lie talking. But the high tide of our love receded, exposing rocks. The climax crashed in November, rain lashing the windows like furies. Ben's agent called a tour for the book, Midwest stops, including Columbus. Family signing, the guy joked. Ben agreed, then unburdened. Gotta face them. All of it. I supported, but anxiety gnawed. He left for the first leg Chicago. Detroit, texts loving but distant. In Ohio, the event was packed. Locals clutching copies. Mom beaming from the front row. Live streamed. I watched from our couch. Heart in throat. Q&A turned personal. A fan asked about the heroes coming out. Ben paused. Mic trembling. It's me. Was always me. And Jacob, he's my real-life hero. The one who made it possible. Cheers erupted. But off-camera, Lila stood in the back. Arms crossed. Post-event. Chaos. Reporters sniffing scandal. Family huddling. Ellie's text to me. Proud of him. But Dad's not great. Ben called at midnight. Euphoric then crashing. It was magic. Jake. They got it. But then, Lila cornered me again. Said you're using me, for the story. The drama. Rage boiled. And you? Defended us? Silence stretched. I tried. But she knows things. About Yale. That night. The hookup. Outed as a footnote. Betrayal. Sharp as glass. You told her? Our secrets. Voice cracking. Not like that, she guessed. Pushed. Excuses. I hung up. World tilting. Hours later, he texted, coming home. We fixed this. But the fracture was seismic. He arrived at dawn. Cab idling outside. We faced off in the living room. Coffee cold between us. She's lying, he swore. Twisting it to hurt. Proof her emails. Venomous. Spilling his past like confetti. But the core. He'd confided in her once. Post-Yale. Drunk and doubting. Before us, he pleaded. It meant nothing. Everything. Then. Trust. The foundation. Crumbled. I can't, I whispered. Not when pieces keep breaking off. He begged, tears, touches, but I was done patching. Go home. To them. Figure your shit. He left, duffel in hand, door clicking like a guillotine. Winter returned, harsher this time, snow blanketing Brooklyn like a shroud. The apartment felt cavernous without Ben's clutter. Sketchpads stacked neat, his side of the bed a cold void. I threw myself into work, the dating app contract ballooning into full-time, hours blurring in a fluorescent haze. Friends rallied. Drinks at the Abbey, a queer bar in Park Slope, where I nursed IPAs and dodged pitying glances. Give it time, my buddy Marco said, clapping my shoulder. New York's full of seconds, but seconds felt like settling. Ben's absence echoed in echoes. A forgotten hoodie in the closet, his cologne lingering on the pillow I refused to wash. Texts came sporadic. Miss you. Therapy twice a week. I read, Didn't reply. Pride or self-preservation. His novel climbed indie lists, reviews praising the raw authenticity of queer love. I bought it, dog-eared now, passages underlined. The hero's doubt, the lover's quiet strength. Me, immortalized. It hurt, a sweet ache. Christmas alone was brutal. Take-out tamales from my mom. Her voice crackling over video. Mijo, come home. We worry. I demurred. Blamed work. New Year's. I rang in at a stranger's party. Midnight kiss with a barista named Theo. Cute. Uncomplicated. But his laugh grated. Nothing like Ben's rumble. Ghosted him by morning. January thawed the ice. But not my heart. Ben's tour wrapped. He emailed the lease termination. Polite legalese. Take care of yourself. I signed. Numb. Then, impulse. A flight to Columbus. Unannounced. Not reconciliation, closure. The haze door opened to Ellie's surprise. Then hug. He needed this, she said, leading me to the kitchen. Mom hovered, pie cooling on the sill. He's out back. With Dad. The yard was a winter sketch, bare trees, a swing set rusted from Ben's childhood. He sat on the porch steps, bundled in a flannel I'd bought him, sketching idly. Dad wheeled up beside, oxygen tank hissing soft. They spotted me, froze. Ben stood, sketchbook tumbling. Jake! Words failed. I crossed the grass, pulled him into an embrace that smelled of pine and home. Couldn't stay away. Dad cleared his throat. Good man. Sit. We did. Awkward trio. Mom bringing cocoa. Dad spoke first. Voice wheezy. Pushed him too hard. Thought manhood was touchdowns and tradition. Nearly lost him. Ben's hand found mine. You didn't. We're here. Talk flowed, halting, then honest. Dad's stroke as wake up. Saw my life flash, regrets. Mostly. Yours too, son. Don't waste it. Ben nodded, tears freezing on his lashes. I almost did. Me? I shared the emptiness. The fear that love like ours was too fragile for forever. But it's worth the breaks, I admitted. Dad grunted approval. Like football. You get knocked down. You get up swinging. Lila's shadow loomed. Ellie spilled. She'd crashed the signing. Stirred shit with old friends. Told tales to save face. Pathetic. Ben faced me. I should have shut her down harder. Protected us. Apology in his eyes. Deep as the Ohio River. I squeezed his hand. We both should have. But we're here now. That night. Guest room again. Chaste. But charged. We talked till stars wheeled overhead. Unpacking the betrayal. His Yale secret. My insecurities. The cultural chasms we'd bridged. No more hiding, he vowed. Even from me. Dawn brought decisions. Back to New York. Together, but changed. Therapy for us. Not just him, couple sessions in the village. Unpacking closets and collisions. Spring greened the city. Cherry blossoms rioting in Washington Square. We moved to Bed-Stuy, cozy brownstone. Sunlight slanting through bay windows. Ben's sequel brewed. Hero triumphant but scarred. I coded by day. Volunteered nights at a queer youth center. Sharing stories of stumbles and stands. Family mended slow. Dad's calls weekly. Gruff pride in his voice. Mom's care packages. Tamale recipes swapped with pozole tips. But conflict didn't vanish. It evolved. A gallery offered Ben a show. Queer themes, bold. Protests brewed from Ohio expats. Pickets outside with signs, family values first. He wavered. Worth the hate. I pushed. It's your truth. Own it. Opening night. Packed. Electric. Critics raved. Haters heckled. Ben dedicated it to the families that fight for us. Eyes on me across the room. Lila showed civil, distant, mumbling congrats before vanishing. Summer tested us. My parents visited. Awkward dinner in our kitchen. Dad eyed Ben warily. Artist. Steady job. But Mom's laugh won him. Her stories of abuelas and amor bridging gaps. Ben's folks flew up for pride. First time. Rainbows clashing with their khakis. They marched. Tentative steps. Dad's cane tapping rhythm. Louder for the folks at home, he joked. And Ben beamed. Arm around me. Yet the deepest cut healed slowest. Trust. Fights flared. Over his late night sketching. My long hours coding. You're pulling away, I'd accuse. Scared again, he'd fire back. And you're building walls. Therapy tamed it. Words as weapons turned to bridges. One night, after a blowout over forgotten anniversaries, he knelt, not proposal, but promise. I'm all in, Jake. Scars and all, I pulled him up, kissed the doubt away. Me too. Autumn wove gold through the parks. Leaves crunching under runs along the reservoir. Ben's book tour redux, East Coast only, me tagging along. In Philly, a signing turned teary. A teen came out, crediting the pages. You saved me. Ben hugged him. Voice breaking, no. You save yourself. With help. That night, hotel room overlooking the school kill. We made love like rediscovery, slow, sacred, bodies mapping forgiveness. But life, that unrelenting editor, scripted a twist. November again, a call from Ellie. Dad worsening, pneumonia complicating rehab. We flew out, hands clasped on the descent. Hospital this time, private room, monitors a symphony of beeps. He rallied for us. Weak jokes about double overtime. Proud of you boys, he rasped, gripping our hands. Make it count, Ben sobbed. I held steady, the rock he'd named me. He passed at dawn, peaceful, Mom's hand in his. Funeral was small church packed with old teammates. Rivals turned friends. Ben eulogized. Voice steady. He taught me strength isn't hiding. The standing tall, even when it hurts. Reception at the house. Casseroles and catharsis. Lila sent flowers, white lilies, neutral. We burned them in the backyard fire pit. Ashes to wind. Grief bound us tighter. A forge for something unbreakable. Back in Brooklyn, we scattered, Ben sketching memorials, me coding memorials of my own, an app for queer grief circles. Holidays healed, joint Thanksgivings, my family's spice mingling with Mom haze pies. Ellie's wedding came, us as dates, no hiding. She caught the bouquet. Ben joked, our turn. Winter whispered endings and beginnings. New Year's on our roof. City fireworks blooming like hopes. To us, Ben toasted. Champagne flute clinking mine. The story we write next. I leaned in, his warmth chasing chill. With plot twists and all, the year turned. Snow melting into March rains that washed the city clean. Ben's gallery show toured Boston. DC, drawing crowds and controversy in equal measure. Protests fizzled to footnotes. Acclaim swelled, a MacArthur whisper in the wings. He glowed, that crooked grin back full force, but grounded now, tethered to me. Mornings, he'd wake me with coffee and kisses, sketching quick portraits over breakfast. Me, tousled and loved. My app launched, Queer Connect, a network for stories shared, not swiped. Beta testers poured in, teens and elders alike, voices weaving a tapestry of resilience. Ben baited it, his profile raw, closeted jock to out artist. Thanks to one guy who showered truth on me, cheeky nod to our origin, making me laugh till tears. Spring brought bloom, a weekend in the Catskills, cabin rented on a whim. No signal, just us, hikes through fern-choked trails, nights by the fire with esmores and secrets. Remember the shower? He mused, marshmallows toasting gold. I smirked. How could I forget? You mauled me. He pulled me close. Best mauling ever. Changed everything. We made love on a blanket under stars. Slow as sap rising. Bodies synced like code compiled perfect. Back home, cracks tested resilience. A freelance drought hit Ben, post-tour slump, rejections piling like bills. Doubt crept. What if it's a fluke? Me? The fraud. I countered with facts, sales figures, fan mail, but he spiraled. Studio gatherings turning boozy. One night, he stumbled in late, whiskey breath. Lila emailed. Book deal collab. My hackles rose. Her? He waved it off. Professional. She's changed, but the old wound throbbed. We argued, kitchen sharp, words like knives. You're flirting with fire, I accused. Or just scared of standing alone? He fired. And you're jealous of shadows. Door slam. Couch crash. Morning brought regret. His note on the counter. Sorry. Love you more than plots. We talked it out over park benches. Admitting fears, his of fading talent. Mine of recurring ghosts. Therapy evolved us. Group sessions now. With other queer couples navigating the American dream's thorns. Stories shared, rejections, reconciliations mirroring ours. Ben opened wider, vulnerability his new superpower. I was the betrayer once, he confessed to the circle. Hiding hurt us both. Won't again. Summer sizzled, pride a pinnacle. We marched with the haze. Mom waving a flag sewn handmade, Dad's photo pinned to Ben's jacket. Float after float, anthems thumping, strangers' cheers a bomb. At the parade's end, Stonewall steps slick with sweat and joy, Ben dropped to one knee. Not dramatic, no flash mob, just him, ring simple silver. Jacob Ruiz, you've been my best friend. My heart, my home. Marry me? Let's write the ending together. Tears blurred the rainbows. Yes, I choked, pulling him up. Kisses drowned in confetti, the crowd whooping like family. Fall-etched gold, wedding plans a whirlwind. Small rooftop in Brooklyn, tamales and apple pie, my parents toasting in Spanglish. Ellie's vows as maid of honor tear-jerking. Vows exchanged under string lights. Ben's, poetic. You saw me wet, wrecked, and wanted more. I vow the same. Mine, simple. From showers to forever, I'm yours. Honeymoon in Provincetown. Beaches, bike rides, lobster rolls under dunes. Nights tangled, Whispers of futures. Adopting someday. A house upstate with a studio for him. Office for me. Kids who know love from day one, he dreamed. I nodded, heart full. Winter circled back. Softer now. Dad's marker visited Ohio pilgrimage. Wreaths laid. Stories swapped. He'd approve, Ben said, snow dusting his lashes. Back home. Holidays hybrid. Noche Buena with piñatas. Christmas with carols. Mom Hayes and my abuela bonded over rosaries and recipes. Faiths folding like origami. Challenges lingered. My promotion meant travel. His next book a beast, but we faced them flanked. A scare in spring. Ben's chest pains. Yard dash revealing stress. Not stroke. Like father, he quipped, but therapy doubled down. We emerged stronger. Scars as signposts. Years folded. 5, 10. Our brownstone filled. Adopted twins. Mia and Leo. Dark curls and boundless energy. Ben's trilogy complete. Taught in colleges. My app global. TED Talk viral. Anniversaries marked with showers. Literal. Champagne-soaked. Laughter echoing old steam. One evening. Porch swing in the upstate yard we'd bought. Fireflies dancing. Kids abed. Ben sketched the sunset. Me coding on my lap. Never expected this, he murmured. I kissed his temple. Best surprise. Life's plot twisted still. Losses. Launches, but our arc bent toward light. From that rainy shower. A deluge of grace. In America's vast canvas. Brooklyn grit to Ohio heart. We painted ours. Dramatic. Emotional. Romantic. Humane. A gay story. Unapologetic. Enduring. And in the quiet, his hand in mine, I knew. We'd expected nothing, received everything. The end? Just the next page.